Hey everybody, I'm coming back to you with the next design tip of the month. And you know, I am going to talk about something that really I feel. It is about energy in a lot of respects, and that's kind of about spatial design. How do you adjust things spatially to develop the energy and to employ and deploy the amount of energy that you want? And so I'm going to talk to you about maybe the 3 design tips that I'm actually like using the best, and I kind of employ every single time when I go into places as kind of my mainstays, the ones that I actually think are the ones that can be used in every situation. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about our next ventures that we are working on, which is going to be using spatial design in going into a travel trailer because there's a lot less space, and spatial design is going to be one of those key elements. So let me start with the top 3 that I do. And the first one is that when I walk into any bedroom, I absolutely believe that walking into the end of the bed, meaning that when you walk in the door, that you should see the end of the bed and move towards the headboard. It just sets it up to pull your energy into the room to allow you to expand out from there without any blockages. And spatial design is really about helping you eliminate or arrange things so that energy flows in a direction that works. And the reason I like that, and if you put a bed headboard on a bed that is, and the bed is going this way, and the footboard is on this side, and the headboard is on this side, and the door is right here where I would be, is when you walk into that room, you're going to stop at the edge of the bed. That's a very distinct line, and depending on how close you are to the door, depends a little bit on how quickly that energy stops. But when you walk into the end of the bed, you just feel much more expansive. Even in a small room, it gives you the most expansion and the most energy flow, if you will. So that's my number 1. I absolutely live by it. I don't enjoy being into spaces that do it just about any other way. And so that's my number 1. My number 2 is going to be curtains. Believe it or not, and you've probably heard this in various other areas, and it's just so true, is that when you take a curtain and you hang it above the window, not just right above the window, and that's what most times happens, is that everybody wants to cover up the window, and that's what they're doing, and so they hang their bars just a couple inches above the window. And what that does is it really shortens the room. It kind of just now makes the curtain stand out as being something that's right there in the middle, and it kind of chops everything down to the size of the window and the size of the curtain. And what I absolutely believe and know for a fact happens every single time, whether you're in a small space or a big space, doesn't matter what it is that if you take that curtain and you put the bar within a couple inches of the ceiling, that you now just expand, you lengthen, you bring up all of your different opportunities, your energy, and it really gives the space more. It makes the windows feel larger because now, instead of making the window kind of knowing there and then knowing that there's probably, it ends down here at the bottom, it actually makes the window feel much more expansive. And so now you feel like you've got more window, more light, more space, even if you're using very, very heavy curtains that are blackout curtains and such. And it brings color, it draws color up higher. If you can give your eye the illusion of more space vertically, then it doesn't matter how much space you have on the floor, you feel like you have more space. You feel, and your energy feels much more open and able to flow. So that is tip number 2. Tip number 3, and this one I discovered when talking to and working with my children when I was designing our own houses, initially. And that was, you know, I don't know about you, but the dining room table, and when you have kids, nobody scoots their chairs up perfectly aligned around the table. It looks great when we set our houses up the first time and we stage it and it looks fantastic. Everything's nice and neat, but life doesn't usually life that way. Everybody scoots back, they move, they take things to the dishwasher, they want to go watch movie night, they want to have some popcorn, whatever it is. They're not all going to tidy everything up perfectly. And so what happens is that if you have chairs especially that have a lot of lines in them, whether they're ladder back chairs or different things that just have lots of different lines or different shapes to them, there gets to be a jumble. There gets to be a lot of stuff happening in the space, and it creates an inadvertent kind of anxiety, energy, bleh, if you will. And so simplifying your lines and reducing clutter in the sense of visually reducing the amounts of things that you see not perfectly aligned and doing things like that is going to make a significant improvement. If you feel like your space especially has some sort of you don't really enjoy being there. It just makes you feel anxious, makes you feel like that there's not a lot of that. Think about that as being a potential way of helping to reduce things. Look at your space and kind of see if there's ways to reduce that visual clutter. And that could be just a lot of lines jumbling together, a lot of different shapes stacked on top of each other. Conflicting colors will happen and do that too. And probably I'm going to give you a fourth tip because, you know, I can and I enjoy doing lots of different tips. You can use color, and I've talked about color on my other design tips. I love color. And one of the best ways to do color is to deepen a room. You can use a darker color, more subdued version of a color, those types of things to kind of draw your eye to the back of the room. And so this is a way to use very small spaces to make them feel bigger and deeper. I used one of those specifically in short-term rental that I had that were very small spaces, and it was probably one of the smaller spaces that I was working with. It was kind of a long and skinny apartment, if you will. It was a studio, so everything, the beds, the kitchen, everything all got to be in one space. And I ended up using black, and usually black is not a color that you would like to paint the walls. But in this particular instance, I put black on the far wall where the bathroom door was and where you would end up doing that. And it really, when you stepped in, all of a sudden you looked all the way through the space to that black wall, and it felt like that black wall melted away and it could just keep going. There was kind of a void back there. And in that particular case, it really did help the space feel much deeper, much more space than just stopping at the different segments of it. Whether, oh, we're at the end of the kitchen, now we're at the bedroom, now we're in a living room space. It allowed the eye to go all the way through. So you can use color spatially to bring your eye into a room, to flow up into different heights, to bring your attention to different aspects, and even to hide different things that, like TVs, that take up so much and dominate so much space if you're not careful, that all of a sudden the entire room is just that piece of furniture or object that's in there. So those are my four. Now, so those are really the four favorite spatial design tips that I really use everywhere. And I hope that you can utilize some of those. I hope that you can actually do it, and stay tuned because we are going to be giving more spatial design tips as we get into our new travel trailer and really looking and seeing how we can do that. So I hope to see you soon. I hope to see you the next time. And if you have any questions, always ping me on social media, Design Life by Lora in Instagram and Lora Redmond Brown on Facebook. I would love to hear it.